And we're rolling. Okay. So you are asking about your love life. Specifically, you had mentioned that, you had mentioned that you have the ability to clear a room when you walk into it, which I do not believe, but definitely that's an indicator of a feeling, right? So, and energy. So if that's the energy that you feel you have, we have to go with it. Let's see, you also mentioned that you're not having a lot of luck with match or scruff. You say you're a wallflower at the bar. You meet the wrong kind of guys. People who are out of town, married, or discreet. So basically, attracting the wrong type of guy means that, that's kind of like an energetic blockage, right? So let's just take a look at that. Let's take a look at the energy around your love life. So the number, you gave me a 9-digit number. I used a little bit of numerology and I turned it into a couple different numbers to help me pick some cards for you. First we have the Nature Speak Oracle from Ted Andrews, and I really like this deck, and I just want to flip the card just to see what, set a tone for the reading. So you got sunrise and sunset, or new doorways. Definitely new doorways are something you would need to find love if what you're doing is not working for you. So I think that's a really nice theme for the reading. I'm just going to put that aside for now. And I also used that number to draw this card. So the deck you picked in the blue starry, not envelope, what is this bag? The blue starry bag was this is the Universal Weight Tarot. So the number that I used, we'll use this as a guide for you. Either a guide, you can look at it as a guide, or sometimes it just really sums up the reading. So I will put that aside and we'll look at that last. In the meantime though, I'm going to go ahead and draw 3 cards to build a foundation for you on love. One, 2, 3. Okay. So let's take a look. Well, everything is reversed. So so you're pretty blocked right now, I would say. And I think I'm not even gonna, I'll just go through the cards. So very interesting that they're all reversed. I'm gonna turn them all right side up for the moment as I read them, however. So here we go. So it looks like you're coming from a place of, and I mean, it kind of this card to me sounds like what I was actually just saying that you had written to me about, right? So you have the woman who's blindfolded in the marsh, she's bound. She's basically hoodwinked herself. Her arms are bound, but loosely. She has a way out. Now, you'll notice that there is, she's kind of placed herself as a wall. She's basically a part of the Wall of Swords. So she's kind of being her own wall here, right? Blocked off. But also, I mean, because she's a part of the wall and her feet are not bound, she can actually move. She can make the opening herself. And I think that's really the lesson here, that she has the power to get through these blocks. Now, it's all in her mind, right? The swords are the suit of the mind, they're the suit of anxiety, the intellect, logic, things like that. So being the 8 of Swords here, she has a way out, but for some reason she's choosing not to see it, right? Because she has hoodwinked herself. She can unbind herself and get out of the struggle to make the situation better. There's a castle on a high mountain in the background, so clearly, you know, that's sort of a symbol of where she can get to, like a prosperous land or the promised land or something like that. All she has to do is get out of the sword and turn things around. Now, if you look at the perspective, this sword, the leftmost sword here, if you look at where it's planted in the ground, the perspective is a little weird, but I feel like if you look at the way things are aligned, she's actually facing that sword. So to me, part of this is like the arrangement of this card is also about facing challenges, and she's refusing to face a challenge by hoodwinking herself, right? This is sort of a mental challenge, a challenge of ideas and what's going on in her head. So I feel like foundationally this is kind of where you are right now, and it's going to be a tough slog to get out of it because it was reversed, right? So I'm just going to put that one back. So that's kind of that kind of sums up to me what you were talking about in your question to me, right? Like you're having problems with all of the venues that you're going to right now to meet someone, and but the tone of the message too was sort of self-defeatist. You know, it was from a law of attraction perspective. If you say you're going to fail, you're going to fail, right? So this to me is not surprising at all. The High Priestess, kind of moving along, I kind of read these in the way we read English as a progression here. The High Priestess also being reversed. There's part of the message of the High Priestess, it's a major, so it's a big theme in life, is that, you know, there is hidden knowledge, and the High Priestess, you know, she has the pomegranate covered, not textile, what would you call that? The drape behind her. So there's something behind her that we can't see as we approach the High Priestess. She holds the law and the knowledge in her hands. The crown that she wears are basically the phases of the moon. The moon also being a symbol of hidden knowledge. So it's all about the spiritual knowledge that you have within. So one way you can think about this is, where can you be the High Priestess? Where can you conjure the knowledge you need to move beyond this being stuck in a marsh over here? So that's definitely the theme of the reading, right? Is how can you get out of the rut? So, or out of the marsh in this case. And then kind of where you're headed, like there are definitely, this is a divinely offered pentacle, the hand coming out of a cloud. You're in a garden, and there's a way out of the garden. There's like a nice doorway over here out towards the mountains. And pentacles are the suit of earth, so they're the suit of basically like livelihood, taking care of yourself, your earthly needs. If you think about the journey of the pentacles, it culminates in the 10 of pentacles. That is it's kind of like the well-established family. I have another deck over here with them all in order so I can show it to you. If we look at the 1 through 10 as a journey, where you end up on this journey of pentacles is you have like a stable home, a family, there's pets in here, they look like they're well off, well established, but you have to start somewhere, and that's where the Ace of Pentacles, this is the divinely offered spark that can get you started on that journey. However, it too is reversed, so definitely it's going to be a tough slog. I mean, reversals for me, one of the reasons why I read reversals is because when the cards come out, I'm kind of OCD and I just can't unsee a reversal, so I just go with it. I always keep them. So when I see all of these reversals, I mean, to me, the foundation of a reversal is that the energy is blocked. So what kind of blockages are there? It's usually delay. It's usually a delay. Once in a while, I interpret them as like, you know, the complete opposite meaning. But for the most part, it's blocked energy, delay. But the other phrase I usually use is a tough slog. So clearly, this is going to be a tough slog. So how do we get this not to be such a tough slog for you? Let's look at the energy of what it means to look for love using like sites like I don't know, like OkCupid or Match.com. Should I look at the apps separately? Yes, let's look at websites. Let's look at apps And since you mentioned bars, let's look at bars. Let's just look at the energy of those three venues. So I'm going to pick, I said websites first. So we're going to do websites. We're going to do apps. Whoops. And then we are going to do bars. Okay. Let's take a look at these. Websites. Apps. Bars. Okay, so you've got two reversed cards again. So you've got the lovers reversed. So with websites, there's blocked, the two major blocked pieces of energy here are with websites and bars. So I'm going to flip them both up. We'll just remember that for a moment. So the lovers, despite having the word love in the word of the card, often means it's not really just about lovers. At the time the tarot was made, marriages were about contracts. Marriages were about how can two families come together. You have land, I have this, you know, I have, I don't know, like peasants, or not peasants, what are they called? Serfs. And it was really a coming together of families, of strategy, of things like that. So the lovers to me is not about romantic love usually. It's about being able to just come together, period. And that's blocked for you, right? Because it came up reverse. Now, so there are ways, websites basically, what I think the message here is like you can make connections here, but it's blocked and it's not really a good path for you. The other one that was blocked was the bars. Now, again, you've got a hoodwinked figure, which is really an interesting echo here, right? Also swords. So in your mind, when you are in a bar, you are basically closed off. So if you look at the configuration of her arms, right, her arms make a cross and they're before her chest. That's where her heart is. So to me, being in a bar, for you, your heart is closed off. And I don't know if that's because of the nature of a bar with loud music, with videos going on in some cases, alcohol, whatever the element is, being in a bar for you is closing off your heart. It could be something, a relationship you have with bars from the past. Now, this is a self-imposed blockade, right? She's contemplating, she's weighing options, she's holding swords. The swords being intellect, mind, logic, things like that. They're currently balanced, but if you've ever held an actual sword of that size, you would know it's very heavy. You can't really do that for very long. So this is an awkward position, and almost in some ways I kind of see it as an impossible position to hold on to for very long. There's hope. I mean, she's right before. There's like a vast landscape behind her across the waters. There's some, like some stones or like small, perhaps small islands in the water behind her. So there's definitely hope, some ideas floating in the sea. There's some hidden knowledge, just like in the High Priestess, because there's the moon in the card. But bars, they look kind of tough for you right now. Apps, on the other hand, I don't know why. The Emperor is a weird thing to get for dating apps. To me. But what I think the indicator is that somehow you can be in command of them by using them. So maybe this actually looks like there's more possibility here for you. And I don't know if it's because I'm just thinking for a moment. I don't know if it's because you can. Well, emperors basically control, they lead, they're the father figure. So I think perhaps what the apps can do for you here is that they can let you be the emperor I guess, like with the big contrast between a website and an app. I guess there's the aspect of proximity, and then there's the aspect of brevity, right? You're not revealing too much about yourself. So in using the apps, you definitely have more control. So, with a bar, you said you're a wallflower, so you're kind of out of control in a bar. You're like live. People are either making eye contact with you or not. With an app, you know, you can dip your toe in the water. You can see if there's anything initially happening, and probably have more control over where it can go. So I think apps are the best option for you. Not that any of these is necessarily the right option, but of the three that we talked about, these seem to be a pretty this one seems to be one that you might want to explore more. And I don't know if you haven't been exploring it lately, but it looks like the one where you can actually have more control over the situation. Now, I want to see, I want to pull some advice for you now on the whole love thing. Let me just pull an advice card. The Knight of Pentacles. Okay, so this is interesting because you, as we progress on the foundation here, right, you were the divinely offered opportunity right now. And by the way, aces to me, who's the author that pointed this out to me? Barbara Moore, in one of her books, points out that, you know, that this initial journey you get with an ace when it's granted to you is often short-lived, so you do need to act soon. But now we have an echo on the advice of Pentacles when, like, the next logical step of your journey in the foundation is also Pentacles, so that's interesting. It's all about arriving at some sort of, you know, the 10 of Pentacles. So knights of the court cards, they go on quests. And knights are Pentacles are all about really stability, pragmatics, and earthiness, right? It's about, if it's about a job, it means a job that earns you income and gives you stability. If it's about romance, it's about having a stable family or a stable relationship. So basically, the advice to you is to go out on a quest where you can have stability. So I don't know anything about your life. I don't know if you're in a place where you have stability right now. So I would say that to get out of this blockage here, if you don't currently have stability in your household, in your job, in, you know, anything to do with your livelihood, the day-to-day, the pragmatic stuff, if you don't have that, I think this card is probably telling you that you need to seek that out, and that's the advice here. Now, if you feel like you already have all of that stuff, you know, and you're fine on that area, I think the advice to you here is that seeking these qualities out in a partner might be the direction that you need to go. Someone who is stable, who has, like, whatever you might consider a real job, right? Not someone who maybe is floating around from job to job, or someone who knows who they are, someone who is firmly, don't want to say firmly established, that sounds like finances, but is rooted. Someone who's earthy and grounded, I think, is someone that you might need to seek out. And this might, you know, I don't know your astrology either, but if you're like, for instance, if your astrology is particularly lacking in earth, this could be telling you that whom you need to seek out has earth as a big component of their chart. So that, for an advice card, I think there's a lot of ways that this can go, but you'll have to figure out which one rings true for you there. Now, I'm trying to think if there's anything else we could explore for you for a love reading. We've got the advice, we've had the three things that you mentioned to me. I can't think of a fourth choice to look at personally. Actually, well, I guess these are the three things you mentioned. So let's ask, is there another option? Let's pull a card for other options. And okay, that bodes well. So I think the reason, okay, you've got so much going on already that this is like the intellectual exhaustion card, right? It's the 10, it's the end of the journey. So I think for where you are right now, even though there might be other options, it's interesting because this card for other options actually echoes the oracle card that we drew for you earlier, because it's, you know, sunrise and sunset and new doorways. Here we have a sunrise and a sunset in this card for the other venues, things other than websites, apps, and bars. So what I'm getting from this is right now you're just mentally exhausted. You're too mentally exhausted to explore a new possibility. So I think even the tarot right now is basically bringing us back to the idea that you are just blocked. So, so other options right now, this to me makes me think that this is not about who you need to seek out, the knight. I'm thinking that the message of the night now is more about getting yourself, getting everything that you need to get established foundationally in the pragmatic areas of your life in place in order to facilitate a journey to find romance. If the notion of if the notion of trying something new right now, like taking a class, what do other people do to find romance? Joining a club, going to meetups, exploring some sort of like a cooking class or whatever. If you're just like too mentally exhausted to even do that, the night to me, the advice here then is to basically you need to get some more stability in your life so that you can have everything in place so that you can open the way. If you either you can do this, but I mean you can either that or make it so that next time we do the reading and what the energy around another venue is, so that you are not too mentally exhausted to explore another venue. I mean that's what I'm seeing in these cards right now. Let's pull a card for what you need to do for yourself. Like, in terms of this. Man, you are blocked. Okay, so, the I'm going to grab my other deck really quick because I always compare the 3 to the 2 of Wands. So you drew the 3 of Wands. So this is the first wand that's come up for you. The wands are the suit of will, the fire inside you. The 2 of Wands, if we look at them as a progression, 1, 2, 3, the 2 is really about planning. So you're beyond the planning phase is what this is telling me, right? He's got a globe in his hand. He's a traveler. He's got one of the wands in his hand, but the second wand is actually bracketed to the parapet here. I think parapet's the right word. The crenellations on the castle. And he's also at a crossroads. You can see that the flowers on this side in this little picture here, I think it's a picture or like a banner. They're crossing, so there's definitely, just like the 2 over here, all the 2s are kind of about balance and decision making and stuff like that. You've got this is coming at a crossroads and having to figure some shit out. So you've already gotten to the place where you have been thinking about things, right, and doing the consideration and like where your will wants to go. So what you can do here, the 3 is all about now stepping, like if you look at the way the wands are arranged, it's like stepping through, setting things into action. So to me, this is saying like you actually know what you need to do. You're not willing to face it right now on an intellectual level. On the level of will, you're blocked again. You don't have you don't like, he had, remember, I'm going to pull the card back. So he had the globe in his hand, right? So basically what, in the picture, whatever he was trying to set into motion required like a journey, sort of like maybe like in the age of exploration, because there are 3 tiny ships in the water here. The water is calm, but it is, he has set things into motion, but for you, this was blocked. So it's the whole step of setting things into motion with your will is now blocked. So I almost feel like you need another reading to figure out how to get unblocked. But the theme of this reading is love. So to me, what we have seen so far, I don't even think it matters how to find love. I think the real thing you need to work on now is getting unblocked. And so if we ever do another reading, I would say that trying to figure out in what areas of your life you need to work on, like the fundamental areas, in order to get unblocked might be a really good thing to examine. Let's pull your guide now. So this was the guide that we pulled with the number that you picked. So this was your energy. So this this can often be like an epilogue, a summary, or a guiding advice, like from a spirit guide. You're blocked. Okay, so you've got another pentacle. So this one, you've got the 7 of Pentacles here. It's there's a lot of different ways to look at this card. So there's an element of patience, right? Because when you have crops and they're growing, they're not quite ready to. He's got a hoe in his hand, which, I mean, absolutely does resemble a wand. So there's definitely like an echo of the fire that we just got here in this card. But In this case, the implement is about making a harvest and digging up the roots of things, but it's not yet ready, so he has to be patient because the seeds have been planted. He can see, he can see the fruit of the labor, right? He can see on an earthly level the seeds that have been planted and are not ready for harvest. So he knows that something's coming. It's just that this is the reminder that sometimes the timing's not perfectly right. And it's coming up, but it's not there yet. He can't harvest. So I think this one is about patience. Basically, you have to keep these plants alive. You have to be a caretaker, like the farmer, right? You have to keep them alive and thriving so that they will be ready to harvest when the time comes, but the time is not quite ripe. So my suggestion for you would be, okay, we looked at how blocked love is. I think what we really need to do is you need to figure out where else are you so blocked in life fundamentally? What's the quest that you have to solve here? Like you have to go out and find something on the earthly plane to build stability in your life, so that then once you have all of that foundation in place, then I think you can work on opening up the energy for love. But I think love is totally blocked off right now, and so I would definitely consider some astrology, because astrology could be really helpful about timing, to figure out like, okay, well, if I'm blocked off for love right now, when is my window of opportunity coming up for love? When are the stars going to be aligned so that love will really be on the menu for me? And then okay, now you have whatever time that turns out being, that's your runway to get prepped for it, right? To make sure that you're cultivating all of the earthly things, you're finding all of the earthly things that you need to put in the foundation, so that all of these cards will flip and you'll be open to love. And don't forget about the new doorways. So I don't know, maybe the new doorways like astrology, some more divination for you, or maybe it's something entirely different. But stepping through those new doorways, I think, is what's going to get some of these cards to turn right side up. I think that's about all I have to say. Let me wish you the best of luck with your endeavors.